This as the Senate prepares to vote this week on a resolution blocking the president's declaration of a national emergency on the southern border. Some Republican lawmakers already saying that they plan to break rank and vote with the Democrats. They are Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Arkansas, Rand Paul of Alaska, and Rand Paul of Kentucky and Thom Tillis of North Carolina. Several others say they have not ruled it out. Joining me right now in an exclusive interview, Republican Senator from Wyoming, John Barrasso. He's the chairman of the Senate Republican Conference. He also chairs the Senate Committee on the Environment and Public Works. He's a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And Senator, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. The vote is this Thursday. How are you going to vote?
I'm going to support the president. I think the president is absolutely right on declaring the emergency here. There is an emergency at the southern border. Today, 130 Americans will die of drug overdoses in the United States. So much of that's coming in from Mexico. We have a security issue. We also have a humanitarian issue. I want the president to be able to accomplish the things that he has promised the American people.
Why are so many of your Republicans not standing with the president, your Republican colleagues?
Well, all of us are united as Republicans that we need to do things at the border in terms of border security, in terms of a barrier, in terms of technology, in terms of manpower. Some would rather he not use the emergency powers that are granted to all presidents. They would rather this go through the appropriations process. Well, I agree with that approach, but we have Democrats who have in the past voted for border security, for hundreds and hundreds of miles of barrier, who now call it immoral and are calling for tearing down the wall. Yeah. President Obama, President Clinton said we had to do more at the southern border. Now those Democrats are heading the other way. Some of them even want to eliminate this immigration and customs enforcement.
Yeah, and like by the way, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez keeps saying that. Look, we often show this picture of the wall that separates San Diego and Tijuana. This is a wall in Nancy Pelosi's state. She's never asked about the idea that, you know, she keeps calling the wall immoral, and yet there's a wall in her own state, which obviously is working. I don't understand playing politics with this issue. Is this all about the president getting his, campaign promise delivered, knowing what the facts are in terms of the human trafficking, the drugs, et cetera?
Well, I think that the day that Donald Trump was elected president, Democrats still couldn't believe it, and they said we're going to do everything we can to stop him from accomplishing anything, whether it's good or bad for America. That does seem to be the wave they've headed, certainly with border security, because they have flip-flopped. They're now against something they've been for and voted for in the past. And that, to me, is the most disturbing nature of all of this, because we need the border security. I just met the other day with the Secretary of Homeland Security. We're on a path to having a million people stopped at the border trying to come into the country, and many get here illegally. They've also weaponized the laws of the United States, whereas with human trafficking, if they bring a child and call themselves a family unit, then they say they can only be held 20 days. That's what the law is, released into the United States. And they don't come back for a hearing, and they stay forever. So our laws are being used against us, and the system is broken.
Yeah, okay, so the Senate vote on Thursday, they only need 4 Republicans to get in with them, the Democrats, so that it will pass, and then it heads to the president's desk. He said he will veto it. Is that what you're expecting, how this plays out?
That's exactly how I'm seeing it. I'm meeting a couple of times this week with the president. He's going to veto this, and then his veto will be sustained. They will not be able to override the veto of the president.
You don't think there will be any chance that they will be able to override it?
No.
Let me ask you about the budget numbers, because all of this, even those who accept the idea that this is a crisis right now, are debating the amount of money allocated to the wall, to defense in general. The budget, of course, is going to be unveiled tomorrow. How does he arrive at $8.6 billion?
He's asked the experts, where should we be putting our best efforts? And they've come up with 10 specific locations along the border and said these are the spots where if we could put barriers, it would make a fundamental, significant difference in protecting the border. The border is about 2,000 miles, and so the president's not asking for the full 2,000 miles. He's saying, give us those 10 locations that the experts say are the key locations. That's where he's getting his numbers.
Yeah, because there are some areas that may not need a wall, and the president has said that, right?
Yes. Yes, there are places where manpower works, but some places with technology. Some places a physical barrier is key. It's critical. That's what the president wants the money for.
How is this going to play out, given the worries over $22 trillion in debt the country is facing right now? You've got the debt ceiling debate coming up as well.
Well, the Democrats are going to continue, I believe, to block anything the president wants to accomplish. And the president has done wonderful things for the country in terms of economy, in terms of regulatory reform, tax relief, 2 judges on the Supreme Court. I'm really proud of the record that President Trump has, but the Democrats just continue to have taken this hard left turn, kind of heading off the cliff. The so-called Green New Deal is a part of it, but also with border security is a big, big issue.
Yeah, I mean, border security wasn't always a big issue for them. They all say that they are for border security and they want more technology and more manpower. They just don't like the idea of a wall.
They were good for the first 700 miles, and then Nancy Pelosi calls the 701st mile immoral.
Yeah, right. All right, let me ask you about the broader set of issues here. We've got this South by Southwest conference going on, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is defending her position on the Green New Deal, basically saying, you know, what's such a big deal about going from 10% better than garbage? I mean, she actually called the U.S. and the U.S. policies right now garbage. How do you react to that?
Well, this New Deal, it's a crazy New Deal. It's a bad deal. I take a look at what they propose, what she has introduced, and 11 members of the Senate have as something as, what's the cost, what are the consequences, and will it work? Well, the cost is staggering, astronomical, $93 trillion. I mean, that would empty everyone's bank account in America, from Warren Buffett all the way on down. So the country cannot afford it. Individually, the consequences are people are going to lose their jobs. It's going to be about $65,000 per family per year, plus higher energy costs, higher heating costs. They want to get rid of airplanes. Anybody that works in an airline industry, they're going to be out of work. The energy industry, out of work. And what about the Air Force? You get rid of airplanes. You know, Vladimir Putin's not going to get rid of his Air Force just if we get rid of ours. And the question of will it work, Maria, it will not work. We cannot allow.
I want to reiterate, you know, your knowledge base coming at this, because you're the chairman of the Committee on Environment and Public Works. You are an authoritative voice on knocking down this deal in this capacity, and you are also a board-certified orthopedic surgeon in private practice for 24 years. So you have real opinions in terms of Medicare and Medicaid. Why won't it work? Explain to our viewers, based on your knowledge base.
Well, right now, in terms of emissions, global emissions, and a global issue, the United States puts forth only 13% of those. China and India, 33%. So you can't power the country on wind turbines and solar panels alone. That's only 8% of our energy. We just cannot allow ourselves to follow this Chicken Little, sky is falling approach of these socialist Democrats like Ocasio-Cortez and the presidential candidates on the Democrat side of the aisle. We cannot follow them over the cliff that is going to hurt jobs, hurt people's ability to pay their mortgage, hurt our economy, hurt our nation in terms of national security. If you want to do something, actually something significant and big, there are some solutions to this that I've proposed, and I'm working with people in a bipartisan way on it. Right. Sure, we need more renewable energy, but we need carbon capture, sequestration, utilizing the carbon, make it a valuable product. We've passed pieces of legislation signed into law called the Future Act, and we had a hearing on another one yesterday, all related to, last week, all related to carbon capture, and the other is nuclear power. Right. New age nuclear power where the reactors are smaller, better, safer. That's all part of it.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned all of this, because you've worked with your Democratic colleagues on this, and you've recognized climate change as an issue. Do you think she just doesn't understand the issues? I mean, how is it possible that the party seems to be being led by her and her ideas? The whole conversation, the debate that we're having, is based on her ideas. What do your colleagues on the left say about this?
Well, some are very concerned with the position that the party has taken and the presidential candidates have taken. I think Nancy Pelosi is unnerved by this new group of Democrats in the House who are trying to take the entire party and are succeeding in taking the party on this sharp left-hand turn that's going to, as the New York Times today said, careening off the cliff. Yeah. That's where they're heading.
It certainly feels that way.